Anthony Joshua knocks out Francis Ngannou in 2 rounds with a right hand that could have knocked a hole inside of the moon. And I'm going to break down each second of each one of these 2 rounds so that it's clear to you what goes on at this level of boxing. And another thing that I'm going to break down to you all is why is it that people underestimate what it takes to be at the top of boxing? It's the hardest sport in the world to learn. That's on record. That's one of the main reasons that plenty of the world of mixed martial arts are transferring over, because they know that if you ever want to be the greatest at something, then you got to be seen on the biggest stage doing that and winning. And that's exactly what Francis Ngannou challenged himself to do. So when we get into this, what we're going to go over is what actually happened in the fight, what was lacking in the fight, and why is this fight going to be talked about for many years to come. First thing before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself for all of you guys who are going to be new to the channel. My name is Eric A. Bradley, coach that is 4 decades in the world of boxing, with over 40 title championship training camps under my belt as advisor, tactician, and all of the above was earned, not taken. And I'm telling you, when you're in the sport of boxing, it's a real thing. So Anthony Joshua, as we broke this thing down, was one of the guys, one of the champions that was actually following our page, because we educate fighters and the coaches who are training them. That's what we do. And I've been doing it for a long time. I've written over 30 books on boxing, the sweet science, the masterful science of boxing is nothing to be or they're nothing to shake a stick at. But when you get into the ring with these guys at this level, one thing that you're going to need to understand before you even begin, you have to understand that there are 12 stages to boxing, right? And not now, but after the show, we're going to stream it tomorrow live in our subscriber portal on Instagram, YouTube, and on Facebook in the subscriber portal. So you guys will have a clear understanding. You're just not watching it, but you're going to really see what these stages are and why so many fighters fall short when they get to the point of the title, because that's when the actual levels begin. And that's what most people don't understand. So when they walk out round one, you could tell right then that Anthony Joshua's business. He came out, he set up everything with feints. And why? The reason why he threw feints is because he wanted to see exactly what it was that Francis Ngannou was going to bring inside of that boxing ring. And when he did, what he saw that Francis Ngannou was wanting to throw the left hook. Now you can't blame Francis Ngannou for wanting to throw the left hook, because that's what worked against Tyson Fury. But the thing about it is Tyson Fury had no idea of what Francis Ngannou had. And so obviously he was going to get exposed, and he got caught. And that's what happens when you don't have any data on a guy and you don't respect his cachet inside of the boxing ring. And that's what Tyson Fury did. It wasn't much more than that. And I know everybody got excited, but lo and behold, there's a lot for Francis Ngannou to learn, because once he realized that I'm showing my card. See, it's a lot of things that you got to get over whenever you're coming into the boxing ring and you have not been at that level before. And he had not been at that level before. He was actually fighting somebody that had data on him, somebody who was looking at him now as an actual threat. And so when they got into that ring, when they decided this is what it's going to be, you're coming to really take my title for real. I mean, you got a stacked corner. You got Mike Tyson working with you in camp. You really coming for the smoke, so I'm not going to take you light. And that's what Anthony Joshua went into his training camp as. He went into there with that mindset. So what did you do? Whenever a person has a what we call an attribute. And see, that's what Francis Ngannou has. He has an attribute. And what is that attribute? He got decent reflex, and he got really, really dense bones. And dense bones create knockouts. Dense bones and bone body dexterity, that training with a lot of wrestling over the course of those years in the UFC, all of that body contact that builds dexterity. That's why you don't want to mess around with a wrestler, and you definitely don't want to box with a boxer. So you're talking about two of the most dangerous sports, bar none. And when you got that as a recipe, when Anthony Joshua went into camp, he's like, all I got to do is see what he's going to do, because I've been in the ring with Klitschko. I've been in the ring with a lot of the top fighters in this era. And when it comes down to it, he's been in the ring with the most dangerous boxer, skill set wise, in Usyk twice. So he's putting 24 rounds in there with him. He did 11 rounds with Klitschko and got him out of there. He's been in the ring and he's lost to Andy Ruiz, who has great hand checking skills. And when you have a fighter of that magnitude giving you that education, you get 19 rounds in there with Andy Ruiz, is somebody that you truly can't sleep on when it comes to getting inside of the ring and having a level of skills that can pay the bills. And so what he did is saw exactly what Francis Ngannou wanted. Now let me know what you think when it comes down to who did you truly choose? And what do you think was the deciding factor? And I'll get into this next part. So drop it down in the comment boxes, because I want you guys to be interactive with this conversation, because this conversation will continue on after we do this show. Be expecting a post show tomorrow, and I'm going to post that 12 stages of boxing when it comes down to it. Now, once he got him into that place where I'm going to feint you to see what you got, all you got to do at that point is take away whatever he was going to do. So then that's when he started throwing a jab to the body. Why did he start throwing the jab to the body? Because he was trying to set up the big right hand. And he did it just like you would do when somebody comes into your gym and they're from another camp and they don't know what level that you operate in. I got the opportunity to work in training camps with over 40 of the best fighters that have been in boxing in history. And that's one of the things that you take away from camp. Lo and behold, I'm very modest when it comes down to what I was able to experience and the giants that I was able to learn from. But one of the things that you know for sure, when you want to get a big right hand off on a person, you jab them to the body. You jab them to the body. Oliver McCall used to do that stuff. He learned it from Custy Amato and Mike Tyson when he was fighting in training camps with him. He came to our camp, did the exact same thing to one of our heavyweights. And lo and behold, boom, almost dropped him in the ring, sparring, headgear on, 20-ounce gloves. That's the mastery of boxing inside of a ring that's built for championship training camps. You are going to see things that you will never see on a regular day in a regular training camp, because these are the tricks that you can't get access to. And when he did that, I was like, oh, he's going out of there. Within seconds, he had put him down in the first time. Boom! First right hand, he pushed through. And this is what we call piercing. And when you pierce, you don't just punch the target, you punch through the target. He was actually doing that drill before they went out in the locker room. And when you see that, boom, down here and boom, up here, if you get the replay, you can go watch the first knockdown. He had knocked him and detached him from his soul in that round. When Francis Ngannou got up, he realized this. Yeah, the feeling that I had before, it was real. Boxing is different. And it's not his fault, because it's so many things that you got to learn. Even if you box every day for 15 years, you're learning. You have to adapt your muscle memory to different levels, because every time you get comfortable, somebody introduces you to some new stuff and you're like, okay. And so you got to readapt your body. And that's what Francis Ngannou hadn't even begun. He doesn't even realize physically how many phases and stages his body has to go through. Anthony Joshua was a medaled Olympian, okay? And he fought Klitschko, the lineal champion over the past 10 years before he beat him. And Tyson Fury beat him, and then he beat him, but he beat Klitschko when Klitschko was sharp. 241 pounds, 4 pounds lighter than his normal weight, and he was boxing like a juggernaut. That's when Anthony Joshua beat him, when he was trying to reclaim his name, Klitschko, that is. And so when I seen him throw that round, throw that right hand. I said, yeah, he's not gonna beat him. He's gonna send a message. You can't come out of MMA, come from MMA and win in boxing. You can't even do that in boxing. You can't. I've worked with a guy who was in 9-1, 8-1, and his real coach, the guy who bred him from the gate. And I always tell you guys about stories from Baltimore. That's why I tell you don't F around with Tank. Tank from a place that y'all don't know nothing about. And the only people that do know something about it is the people that's really from boxing. So if you ain't really from boxing, you really need to shut up because I know where he trained. I know where he from. We used to go up there all the time when we were getting ready for championship training camps. All right. So when you talk about going into a place like that, that's a dungeon. That's where the real dog pound started. That's where the real dog pound started. You talking about greats like Sugar Ray, Frankie Randall, Sweet Pea, all of these killers, Hassim Rockman. Look, legends, George Benton, Matthew Saad Muhammad. Don't come playing. Y'all don't know nothing about boxing for real. So when you look at this thing, I knew exactly what he was doing. When they went into the second round, I knew he was after he was going to detach him from his soul, which he did just moments later. He stayed on his nerve once again with those feints. Stab him here. He knew you got to get so many different wrinkles and layers to you. So any of you guys who just coming into boxing and you're just excited now because you learn how to do mitts, you better chill because the one of the things that Anthony Joshua is portraying, you can see right now how he's not calling out anybody. He's not saying anything too fast because he realized through experience that you can look past anything in boxing and you can get your ass blown away because that's all it takes because it's levels and the levels don't start until you get the title and that's when the real fun starts, not before then. You don't know shit about boxing if you ain't never been in a title fight. You ain't never worked in a training camp for a world title. You don't know shit about boxing. I don't care what you think you know. And that's why Anthony Joshua is doing the number one thing that you need to do when you come into the sport of boxing and you actually want to have a real legacy. You better be humble. And humility is real. So that's what happened in that fight. He knocked Ngannou out the second time. He knocked him out. He starched him. And if you don't know what starched him mean, I'll put it up on the screen, but I'm not. I ain't gonna let YouTube get me like that. So that's it, man. We're gonna show. Remember, tomorrow, no, Monday, we're gonna show the 12 stages of boxing so that you guys really have clarity. All of my guys in the school of boxing, be your ass in the house because you're going to learn. You're going to need a notepad. You're going to need to take notes. And if you're really about that life, if you're trying to prepare your fighter from going from the amateurs, getting into the Olympics, because we got guys in our place getting into the Olympics, and then going to pro, you're going to need to know these things so that you'll know how to approach the professional ranks of boxing. And if you're already in boxing and you need to really understand where you are and how to get to those next stages and understand clearly what they are. Because see, I thought I knew too. And then, like I said, my mentors, my coaches, duly noted, they were already responsible for over 300 titles. At the same time, I realized I had an ego. I ain't got no ego when it comes down to boxing. You know what I'm saying? When it come down to spelling my name, yeah, but when it come down to boxing, I stay humble. Humility is king and it's the highest level. So if you guys are going to take part, make sure you check in. So continue to follow for more if you love boxing insight. But until next time, I see you guys all soon in the winner's circle. We pray for Francis Ngannou because he really got hit in a way that could really do damage to him long term. Let's pray for him, everybody. Don't just act like crazy bananas. Let's be smart, let's be wise, and be thoughtful. He's a human being, and he went out there to lay it on the line and try to build his legacy. Look where he came from, look where he's going. And that's what you got to do if you want to sacrifice and win in the sport of boxing or anything that you want to win in life. Until next time, Coach Bradley signing out. Be blessed at Godspeed. Peace.